Seafan Sports, the sports show that is dedicated to Seattle sports fans. My name is Dave. This is Kevin. This is Seahawks Weekly Special Report. Russell's leaving town. Bobby's leaving town. And here we go. Before we jump into all that, make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button, turn on your notification bells, give thumbs up, give thumbs down. And for the love of all that's holy, I want to hear what y'all are thinking. Throw some comments in the comment section down below. We will get back to you. All right, first and foremost, I want to take the first little bit here, and I want to thank Russell Wilson, thank Bobby Wagner for all that they have done in a Seattle Seahawks uniform.
Absolutely.
Both on the field and off the field, you guys have been amazing ambassadors to the city of Seattle, state of Washington, and to the fan base that has cheered for you loudly. I want to make that crystal clear that I have enjoyed every moment of watching those two players play the game of football. Again, $1 time, thank you for everything that you have done. Now, unfortunately, we are going to move on to the business at hand. This is something that I have called for a couple of probably about the last season and a half. Ever since Russell came out and said there were 4 teams that he would be willing to go to. Oh, excuse me, Russell's agent. At that point, there was a bone of contention. We knew that this guy did not want to be here long term. Correct, Kevin?
Absolutely correct.
And so with that being said, Seattle at that point was put on notice that they had to do something. So they tried to improve the offensive line.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. And I don't think Russell was happy. And another thing that happened last year that I don't think Russell really cared for is he got booed. He got booed for the first time in Seattle. Yeah. There was people that were telling him, I did not like your play out there on the field. And I think one of the things that Russell does not like to not be is the hero.
Yeah,
so Seattle had to take a step back, and they had to say, okay, what are we going to do? And everybody's like, oh, they would be crazy to trade a franchise quarterback. And I said, if we do not trade Russell now, and we wait the next 2 years, he will get on his horse, and he will ride out of town, and Seattle will get nothing.
Yep.
Nada, no, nothing. They would get some comp picks or a comp pick, whether it's second round, third round. I don't know what that would look like. However, they would have a comp pick. Now, so Seattle had to do something. And then they had to work within the framework of where Russell wanted to go. So there's basically 2 questions, Kevin, that I came up with today. First of all, is why did Seattle have to trade him? Or why did Seattle trade him? The first one being because we had to get something out of this deal, or the future of the Seattle Seahawks would be so much more bleak.
Yes.
2 years from now. And that's saying that we could have, again, another 7-9 season or 7-10 season or whatever that would be. Kevin, I got to ask you, why do you think Seattle made this trade?
Well, I think Russell forced their hand. Rumor has it they were offered more draft picks from Washington. Supposedly Russell nixed that deal. He nixed the deal with Philadelphia. He agreed to terms with Denver. So they didn't have much choice. Their hands were tied, but they needed to do it now because, like you said, next year we're going to run into the same issue. There's going to be less quarterback demand, and we probably might not even get as much as we got this year.
I completely agree with you, Kevin. They were put in a corner by Russell. He had dictated the terms, A, that he was going to leave town, and B, who he was going to go to. So Seattle had to go out and get the best offer they could from Denver.
Yes.
And Denver had us over a barrel. They really did. And we got 2 first rounders, 2 second rounders, a 5th rounder, and we have 3 starting caliber players that are coming in.
two, in my
You know,
opinion.
huh?
Two, in my opinion, but go ahead.
Well, okay, you're right. We have two starting caliber players and a guy to be named to the backup role or to the bench or to
be on another
throw
team.
in any trade.
Yes.
Yeah. I could not be okay. I'm happy with this situation in the fact that we got something for nothing.
Yeah.
We were in a lose-lose situation and we pulled something out of it. Kevin, what are your thoughts on what we got back from the Denver Broncos?
Well, if you go back to, when Drew Lock was coming out of the draft or coming out of college, he was actually compared a lot to Jay Cutler. And now I don't know if he's going to ever amount to Jay Cutler's stats, but I wasn't a huge fan of Jay Cutler from the very beginning anyway. He has a giant arm, unbelievable arm, very quick release, which is good, but absolutely indecisive and bad footwork. Now, then we got defensive lineman Shelby Harris, 6'2", 290 pounds. Will be 31 years next year. He's 16 games last year, had 2 pass defenses, 1 forced fumble, 49 combined tackles, 24 solo, 6 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 11 quarterback hits, and he had a PFF grade of 61.3. So solid centerpiece in the middle. Tight end Noah Fant was rated one of the top 10 tight ends last year. 6'4", 249 pounds. It's going to be 24-25 next year. In the last year of his rookie deal, in 16 games, he was targeted 90 times, 68 receptions, 670 yards, 4 TDs, and a PFF grade of 61.6. Now, I think that this kid has a lot of upside potential, but are we going to be able to find a quarterback that can throw to him? Because I really don't believe Russell was ever good with tight ends the entire time he was here. Now, I'm not complaining about Russell. I absolutely love Russell. We all do. I mean, the entire city of Seattle, the entire country loves Russell. However, he did put himself in this position. I was just very thankful that we were able to get something out of this deal. Yes, I would have liked another first-round draft pick instead of maybe the 5th, but you got to take what you can get, and I think they did get the most out of Denver that they were going to get.
I completely agree. We unfortunately, Kevin, it reminds me of when I bought my first minivan, which I no longer drive minivans. But the simple fact is that there was a time when I had too many children that I could pack them away in the nice car that I had, and I had to make that call to go down and get a minivan. I didn't like it,
right?
But I had to do it. And unfortunately, that's where John Schneider and Pete Carroll were today. They had to get a package in return for Russell Wilson, and then they had to release a legend in Bobby Wagner, and they achieved both of those. What we've done today is we've cleared out a ton of cap room.
Yes.
So the possibilities right now they have a lot of possibilities. They're going to be in a lot of discussions on free agents, on more draft capital. A lot of things are going to be floated around the Seattle Seahawks in the next few weeks. We have got the number 9 pick coming up in the draft. Yep. I'm excited about that. We have right now, either we get behind John Schneider and Pete Carroll, or you just choose not to be a Seahawks fan. Unfortunately, yes, they have made some questionable calls, but I believe this was the only thing that they could do. And now we can move forward and say, all right, where are we going to go in the future? I think we would have been stagnant in the same situation that we have been not just last year, but I probably think the last 5, 6 years. Kevin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure Drew's even going to be with the team next year.
No.
You got 2 quarterbacks on the team right now. with Drew and Jacob Eason.
Yep.
Very, very similar guys. Jacob's a little younger, probably a little bit better of an arm. So, I mean, you're going to keep one of the two. Why wouldn't you just keep Jacob Eason? So nobody likes to see anybody get rid of anybody. We kind of felt that Bobby was going to go away just because of the cap hit. And, nothing against Bobby. We absolutely love Bobby, and I wish him the best of luck.
Oh, my gosh.
We'll see what happens. And as far as Russ goes, once again, you can't say enough great things about Russ. I think the first time I hear him say "Go Broncos," I'm gonna
vomit. Yeah,
but
everywhere.
It's one of those things, and it's part of the business. We've been around a long time. We've been around since the very beginning, and watching everything that's transpired. We were here when the Seattle Sonics got, they lost Peyton Kemp, and then they lost the team. We were here when, Ken Griffey Jr. got traded, and that was probably, to me, the hardest hit I've ever had in my entire life. But I'm still a Mariners fan. I'm still a Seahawk fan tomorrow. I'm still a Sonics fan, and that will never go away. I am a true fan of the team, not necessarily the player.
Right now, we're starting from square one. Okay. If we could go in the Wayback Machine right now to 2000, when we moved on from Matt Hasselbeck, which I was not a fan of moving on from Matt Hasselbeck. Because he at that point, he was the most successful thing we've had as a Seahawks quarterback. And I didn't want to see it. Okay. I wasn't really thrilled with Tavares Jackson. And then when we drafted Russell, I was like less excited. But you know what? Unfortunately, this is what teams do. They move on from players and they get either better or they get worse. I have to hope, that we're going to get better, or it's going to take a couple of years. If anything, right now we're seeing the fruits of the Seattle Mariners' labor of actually rebuilding right. And unfortunately, these were the steps that Seattle needed to take in order to rebuild right. If you guys have more comments, please drop them in the comment section down below. This is how I feel. I hope there's more guys out there that are like Kevin and I, that, you know what? Okay, it's a process, and please tell us in those comments section down below. Our next podcast, we're going to actually dive into the QBs that we can put out on the field to replace Russell Wilson. Kevin, do you have any final words for the fans out there today?
Well, I remember back when we drafted Russell. And we had Matt Flynn. We just signed Matt Flynn to a nice contract, who was going to be our quarterback of the future.
Yep.
But John found this guy, and he said, this guy is going to be the man. Pete let him compete. They had a competition. Russell won. Everybody out there, all the guys with check marks behind him, they just said, oh, that's a dumb pick. That's a dumb pick. Remember the grade we got from that draft with Bobby and Russell? It was horrible. Yeah. So I trust John and Pete, and I think that they either have somebody in mind that they really, really like, or they know something that we don't. And I truly believe that they have something up their sleeves.
All right, Kevin, I think that's all the time we have today. We've kind of beat this horse to death, but again, comment right now, subscribe, go Hawks. Kevin, anything else?
Go Hawks.
All right, man. Deuces.